welcome to episode 1.12 of You're Off the Case, the Ottawa Hockey Podcast. I'm Clayton Johns alongside Jamie Shinkuski, so we try to cover the past week of hockey in the nation's capital, and Jamie will kick things off once again this week with the Ottawa Senators.
Yes, the Senators had 3 games this past week battling for their playoff lives, and Craig Anderson was back in net last Friday, March 23rd, as they were in Montreal taking on the Canadiens, but apparently he was not ready to come back as he was pulled just under 5 minutes into the game. But he was back in to start the second period, as apparently Ben Bishop was not up to the goaltending task either, as the Sens went on to lose 5-1 to the bottom-feeding Canadiens. Jason Spezza got his 30th of the season with the only goal for Ottawa. It was a rough affair. There were 2 fights. Ottawa had 6 misconducts against them, and Montreal had 3. Saturday night, March 24th, they were at home to the Pittsburgh Penguins in a very decisive 8-4 victory. Bishop got the start, but had to leave halfway through the second period with a lower body injury in what became a very bizarre week for the goaltenders. And Craig Anderson came in to make 8 team stops in relief of Bishop. Alfredson with 2 goals and 2 assists, and Mahalik with a goal and 2 assists. Chris Phillips, Kyle Turris, Colin Greening, Jason Spezza, and Sergei Gonchar also scored in the winning cause for the Senators. Now Monday night, March 26th, they were in Winnipeg taking on the Jets in a 6-4 victory. The Sens got up to a 2-0 lead, which ended up being erased, and after 2 periods it was tied 3-3. Alfredson scored 3 minutes into the third to take the 4-3 lead, and with 3 minutes left, the Jets buzzing around the net, Jason Spezza batted a rebound trying to clear it off Evander Kane's chest and into the net as the roof lifted off the MTS Center, but it was quickly calmed down as Alfredson scored just 24 seconds later to retake the lead, and Milan Michalek iced it with an empty netter. Craig Anderson made 44 saves in the victory. Now battling for their playoff lives, the Sens have 5 games left and currently sit in 7th place as they have for a while. They are only 2 points up on Buffalo and Washington, and they are 6 back of New Jersey, but the Senators do hold a game in hand there. Moving on to the rest of the NHL, the young superstar for the Edmonton Oilers, Taylor Hall, had his second season ended abruptly as he's going to require shoulder surgery. Now, this is the second season in a row that ended early. Now, Clayton, do you think the Oilers are rushing their prospects to the NHL? Ryan Nugent-Hopkins has missed significant time to injury. Sam Gagner is finally starting to find his game again, but he's been in the league for a while. Do you think they are rushing their prospects?
Hard to tell whether or not they're rushing their prospects. Certainly the argument could be made. The Oilers are losing anyways, so you could certainly, again, make that argument that they should be left in the minors and make sure that their conditioning is up to where it needs to be for National Hockey League standards, but I don't know if they're rushing their prospects, and certainly Taylor Hall and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins have both proven that they can play in the National Hockey League.
Yes, they can certainly play, but the question will always remain, are they physically ready to be in the league? Now, with the Oilers out of the playoff race, there are still a lot of teams in the playoff race, and at this time of the year, Leafs fans like to say, we are not mathematically eliminated yet, but guess what? This year, you are. The Leafs have been mathematically eliminated from the playoff race, and as a hockey fan in Ottawa, it kind of pleases me to say so. Now, the Detroit Red Wings have clinched a playoff spot, and they will make their 21st straight playoff appearance. And other teams that have clinched in the East, looking back, as we have already mentioned, the Rangers, Pittsburgh, and also Philadelphia have clinched. And in the West, it is St. Louis, Vancouver, as I said, Detroit, and also Nashville have locked down 4 of the spots there. The battle for the Pacific Division lead is also up for grabs, and it will be curious as the season winds down to the last 5 games who can grab those spots.
A little offended by the Toronto Maple Leafs comment, Jamie. I'm a Leafs fan by default, having been from Toronto, but man, that organization needs some serious reworking over the next couple of years if they ever even want a chance to win. Shifting our focus now to the Ontario Hockey League and the Ottawa 67s, who are deadlocked in a battle with the Belleville Bulls, their Eastern Division rival. The series kicked off on Thursday, March the 22nd at home at the J. Benson Cartage Center in a 3-2 overtime win for the 67s on the strength of a pair of Tyler Toffoli goals, including the game winner 2-0-2 into overtime. Game 2 was the next night, still at home at the J. Benson Cartage Center. Another 4-2 win for the 67s, led by a pair of Sean Monahan goals, this time including the game-winning goal in the third period. But Jamie 67's captain Mark Zanetti assessed a match penalty in a strange incident at the beginning of the game, or rather in the warm-up. The match penalty was for spearing. He received a 5-game suspension that was announced later on in the week. He's not eligible to return until Game 7 versus Belleville, or a potential Game 1 in the second round. Jamie, not a smart play by Zanetti. Kind of understand the point he's trying to make, and that tensions are a little bit higher in the playoffs, but he's definitely got to think that act through before he does it.
Yes, that's very true. The tensions were running high. We were not in that scrum. We cannot say what was going on there for sure. But one thing I will say is Zanetti, being the captain, being the leader of that team, needs to keep his emotions in check in the playoffs. Clearly, Belleville, as the underdog team, is trying to get one of the leaders of the 67s to do something foolish and get himself potentially suspended, and that is exactly what happened. Mark Zanetti needs to be a leader on this team, and if they do get through this series against Belleville, he needs to be disciplined going forward in the playoffs.
The effects of Zanetti being missed may not have been seen in Game 2, but they seem to have been missed in Game 3 and Game 4, where the 67s dropped both games 4-3 in overtime. Game 3 and Game 4, a little bit different stories. Game 3, the 67s led by a score of 3-1 in the third period, for the Bulls stormed back, and Jordan Mayer ended the game in overtime just 14 seconds into the extra frame. But in Game 4 was a different story, as it was the Belleville who led 3-0, where the 67s then came back with 3 goals in 7 minutes and 15 seconds in the third period to force OT, but unlike the Bulls, they couldn't complete the comeback, as Brady Austin scored the OT winner 7:46 into the extra frame. Game 5 of the series goes Friday, March the 30th at Ottawa at the J. Benson Cartage Center, and Game 6 will be Monday, April the 2nd at Belleville. Game 7, if necessary, will be Tuesday, April the 3rd at Ottawa. With Game 5 set to go at the J. Benson Cartage Center on Friday night, we caught up with 67's forward Brett Gustavsen at practice on Thursday afternoon.
All right, welcome to the show now. Brett Gustavsen, the Ottawa 67s. Brett, thanks for coming on today.
Good to be here.
Brett, you've had a bit of a different series from what you usually play. You've been more one of those energy guys this year, but you've been able to chip in with a couple of goals, and you've been rewarded with moving up to the first line for tomorrow night's game.
Yeah, it's a big honor playing with Monahan and Toffoli, 2 great players, and I hope to bring a spark to their line that I know I have in my game, and I think it'll help that line, and hopefully playing the way I have, hopefully I can keep it up, and everyone comes around, starts playing hard, and hopefully get through this next couple games.
Now, you were part of the team last year. You moved up in the playoffs after playing some junior A hockey last year. Made the run with the teams in the playoffs, but cut short last year, just 4 games with Sudbury. What have you guys learned? What kind of mentality are you guys using? Using that as fuel for this series to kind of get through this round?
We were just taking it. We weren't taking it in chapters. We were taking it one book at a time. You got to take it one game, one shift at a time. I think this series we really looked at one shift. Win your shift and you can win a game. So we're not looking at the series, we're just looking at our next game.
This team has played pretty strong so far over the series, but maybe just haven't gotten the bounces going your way. Malcolm Subban's been pretty strong for Belleville. What do you guys need to do to beat him in Game 5 and Game 6?
Subban's been great in net for them. Same with Peter on our team, but I think once again, being at home, being away, there's bounces that don't go your way, and I think the team that fights through that's going to win this series, and I think we're going to start getting those bounces back at home, and maybe even with hard work, we're going to get more power plays and stay out of the box more.
Now, it's been a bit of a tough series as well, having your captain go out in Game 2. What have you guys been doing to maybe pick up the slack a little bit in his absence?
It's hard to lose Mark, and great captain on and off the ice, and not having him out there puts us short at the D end, and it's not a good thing to have. There's some guys playing a lot more minutes than they regularly play, but I think it starts from the first guy on forward to Peter back at net. Everyone's got to pick up their game just a bit to match up to Zanetti and his leadership on the ice.
And this series is much different than it was in the regular season with Belleville in that it's been a lot of one-goal games versus a lot of higher-scoring games. What's been the difference or the main difference you've observed on the ice?
I think both teams are looking more defensively, and they're smarter defensively, obviously, and it's playoff hockey, and that's how it goes, and the team who wants it more is going to win this series.
Now, as I said, you've been able to contribute a little bit offensively this series rather than just maybe in the physical department. Is that the way you kind of envision contributing to the team in this series or in the playoffs?
Any way I contribute is great. Usually my game's more crash and bang, more physical, but I think chipping the odd one, it just comes with hard work, and if the bounces are going to go my way, I'll take it. I'm not going to complain. So.
All right, thanks for your time, Brett.
Hey, thank you.
Quick look at the overall OHL playoff quarterfinals right now. Niagara and Oshawa knotted at 2 games apiece. Of course, Ottawa and Belleville tied at 2 games apiece. Barrie and Mississauga also tied at 2 games apiece. The home team has won every game in that series as the Colts are battling without their star forward Tanner Pearson. And the Brampton Battalion have eliminated the Sudbury Wolves in 4 straight games. Brampton outscoring Sudbury by a score of 18-6 over the 4 games. Looking quickly at the Western Conference, the London Knights have now eliminated the Windsor Spitfires in 4 straight games. The first 3 games were close, but London blew the doors off of Windsor in Game 4. Plymouth and Guelph now knotted up at 2 games apiece as well in the West. The Kitchener Rangers and the Owen Sound Attack. The Rangers lead that series 3-1. The Attack staved off elimination with a win at home in overtime and a goal by Kyle Hope on Wednesday night. And the Saginaw Spirit and the Sarnia Sting are both tied at 2 games apiece. This series is going to go quite deep. Jamie Sarnia benefiting from a healthy Alex Galchenyuk as well as Nail Yakupov. Quick look at the Central Canadian Hockey League, who are in their semifinals. The number 1 Nepean Raiders and the Pembroke Lumber Kings kicked their series off Wednesday night in Nepean, and Pembroke won Game 1 by a score of 3-2 in overtime. Game 2 goes at Pembroke on Friday night, Game 3 at Nepean on Sunday. The other series also started Wednesday night. Those are the number 2 Cornwall Colts taking on the number 5 Hawkesbury Hawks. Cornwall leads the series 1-0 after a 5-2 win on Wednesday. Game 2 at Hawkesbury on Friday night. Moving along to our regular segments, and this week we start with the Name of the Week.
This week in honor of Gatineau, who was eliminated on Wednesday night in a 4-game sweep of the QMJHL playoffs, we are going to give our Name of the Week to a player who split the season between Shawinigan and Gatineau, amassing 7 goals and 20 assists in 55 games from Westmount, Quebec, number 2 for the Olympique. Our Name of the Week, Youssef Kabaj.
And as an overager, Jamie Youssef Kabaj has played his final game of junior hockey with the Gatineau Olympiques on Wednesday night. That tough 4-3 overtime loss at the hands of the Blainville-Boisbriand Armada. Moving along now to the 4th line fact of the week.
This week, we look to Montreal, where $7.3 million cap hit of Scott Gomez has scored the same amount of goals, which is 2, as 4th liner Mike Blunden, as he has amassed 2 less points than Oilers 4th liner Ben Eager.
Yeah, Scott Gomez not having a very pretty year in Montreal. The final segment we have for you this week is the You're Off the Case moment of the week. And this week it goes to the Senators' anthem singer from Saturday, March the 24th versus the Pittsburgh Penguins, Misha Bruger-Gosman. She sang both anthems in opera style, and they dragged on and on and on. Eric Carlson couldn't keep himself from laughing. Craig Anderson couldn't keep himself from laughing. Sidney Crosby couldn't stop laughing. And in the middle of her anthem, she simply yelled to the fans, "Let me hear you," as if to get them to join in along. And Jamie, the bottom line to this is don't hire anybody but Lyndon Slewage.
No, quite frankly, those anthems were quite terrible. Misha Bruger-Grossman, please get the anthems done. You are not the star of the show. The lesson here is the man who gives the thumbs up is who needs to perform them. And to the anthem singers who are not Lyndon Slewage, just like Sergei Bobrovsky, you're off the case. Anyway, folks, that's all the time we have for this week. We'll be coming back to you approximately same time from someplace in a week from now.
Thank you for tuning in, everybody, to episode 1.12 of You're Off the Case, the Ottawa Hockey Podcast, on this day, March the 30th, 2012. Be sure to tune in to our NHL Playoff Preview show next week.